Okay, so this is my Captain America Brave New World spoiler thoughts. These are thoughts that will only make sense. I mean, they might make sense, but you shouldn't be watching this video unless you want to be spoiled. So either you've seen the movie or you don't plan on seeing it, or you don't care if you get it spoiled before you see it. But spoilers from here on out. The way I would describe Captain America Brave New World to people is like this. You've seen the trailers, right? So you kind of have a sense for like where some of the fight scenes take place and, you know, who the bad guys are and whatever. If you see those and you're like, huh, okay, so that's all the stuff. So just what connects all of that? The leader wants that all to happen. So like, why do we go from scene to scene? Because that's what the leader wanted this whole time. Then why did they go check over here? Because that's what the leader wanted. Now, I think personally, the leader in this movie does not work. Played by Tim Blake Nelson, doing his best, and I'm happy to see him. And I like that they gave him a weird, goofy face. They gave him a goofy, ugly head. I think that was cool. But like, I don't know, man. First of all, General Ross. What we learned, for people that haven't seen this, is that General Ross had like a heart issue that he could not fix when he was, you know, sometime in the past. So what he did was he went to Samuel Stearns, who was in jail, and he said, hey, Sam Stearns, can you help me fix my heart? Samuel Stearns said, sure, I'm going to do all kinds of weird experiments and stuff. And when you become president, if that happens, but like I think it will, especially because he had like big old brain, so he probably knew that was in the probabilities. When you become president, give me a pardon, and then that'll be it. We'll be square. And I'm like, that's a pretty good deal for both of you. Why didn't you do that, General Ross? It seemed like you wanted to. It didn't seem like you planned to screw him over. You didn't kill him, which I think is maybe what you're supposed to do if you're not gonna free him. Nobody even knows he's there. Nobody's checking on him. So what was your plan? And the answer to that question is like, General Ross, and I keep saying General, but you know, President Ross is just kind of a short-sighted character, and I think that's fine. This all could have been solved, I think, and I'm not positive about this, but this is kind of what I get from this, if General Ross just had pardoned Stearns, and he could have made up whatever he wanted. I've been working with Stearns on medical research, and he, you know, really wasn't as at fault as he says he was, or, you know, the media blew it out of proportion, and new information is brought to light, all kinds of stuff, and we're going to let him go. Right, that would have been fine. Also, the movie kind of framed Stearns at one point as being the fall guy for everything that happened in Harlem at the end of the Incredible Hulk movie. And General Ross also is given some blame for this, as we hear in like a news bulletin or something. But I think at a certain point, a character's reading like Stearns' file and says like, yeah, he took the heat for what happened in Harlem in a way that would suggest that like unfairly so, even though like he was pretty into all that. He wanted Hulk to do Hulk stuff. He was going to do all kinds of experiments. Blonsky made him give him Hulk powers, but he was also like, hell yeah, I'll give you Hulk powers. I love giving people Hulk powers. And then he was like, this is wonderful. I got Hulk juice in my head. He was always cool with this. I think there's a little bit of sympathy in terms of he did seem like he wanted to help the Hulk, but the idea that he is some sort of scapegoat doesn't make any sense to me. Other things that don't make sense to me. General Ross gets assassinated by a bunch of guys. They were all clearly getting things flashed in their faces, and nobody until the very end of the movie puts this together. I guess what it is I think we have a pretty good explanation for what's going on a third of the way through the movie when Torres looks at the thing and goes, oh hey, look, his phone did all these weird flashes. And at the same time, Ruth also sees that and goes, what the hell? And it just show that to them and go, you guys see how shit goes over in this world that we live in? It's that. And I'm not saying that would definitely get Isaiah Bradley freed, but like, I don't know, I feel like that would solve some of his problems, especially since he just put into solitary. Anyway, here's maybe the biggest annoyance for me with this movie. Because to Fat Twist, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the series that is kind of the setup for this, is not perfect. One thing I actually kind of liked about it is the way it positioned Sam. What is Sam's job? Is being Captain America, like how does he do it differently than Steve? And how is his life different from Steve's? And forget about like race and things like that, but just like they are very different people overall. Steve is always in the military, you know, he's been Captain America pretty much his whole life. He always wanted to do that. But like Sam has like a family and nephews and stuff. He is way more of just a guy than Steve really ever got a chance to be. And that was always his problem, right? He was like, I should get some of that life Tony was always talking about. Sam has some of that. So that immediately makes him different. Also, Steve was in Captain America stuff and Avengers-y stuff during the Avengers heyday, when the Avengers were like crushing it. And obviously they had some problems, but like they had big compounds paid for by Tony Stark. Whereas Sam was an Avenger, I guess, but like he doesn't have like a job. Being Captain America into Fatuous and being the Falcon, it's just like something he does sometimes, but like it's unclear if he ever got paid for it or could ever get paid for it. So it does kind of set him up as more of the working man's Captain America. And I like that. That's part of why he doesn't take the serum. That's not why, but I think that works with the idea that he doesn't take the serum. He's not a super soldier. He's a guy. He's a communicator. He could talk people down. I like that as part of his like superpower set, is super communication. And he is very brave and still gets in these situations where like he's in lots of danger, but because he doesn't have the super soldier serum, he could die from it. And like, oh my god, I mean, that could happen to the super soldiers as well. Super soldiers aren't like invincible. I guess they kind of are. Have any of them died? I mean, Red Skull, I guess, as far as we know. Well, I guess he's still around. It doesn't matter. So we start this movie, same Captain America suit, and he got it from Wakanda, but like that's the whole thing, right? Like they gave him that. He also has some sort of Captain America office now, but he is not part of the government, and he doesn't run the Avengers. So what is he doing? Why does he have enough money to just open a little door and a brand new suit comes out? And he's like, oh, I should put this suit on. What happened between these two movies that completely changed this part of the character? Because when you take away the working man, when you take away his family, when you take away like his shrimp boat or whatever he was trying to fix up back in the Fatuous show, like he's just a guy in like a fancy room with computers and his one friend. But I don't think that's interesting compared to like a guy who also has to pay rent. And I don't think he should have to pay rent. Like this doesn't have to be like Spider-Man where he has to be broke. But like, I think the idea that this Captain America has more normal guy concerns is interesting. And he just like doesn't have those anymore. He can also just get stabbed. And like sometimes in a movie, a character will get stabbed with a thing like shoulder, a pierce, maybe something like that. And you're like, that hurt. But they, pull the knife out, just keep going. This one, he gets stabbed, I want to say, chest, not heart, I guess lower though, chest, and then stomach. With the stomach, I think is with the axe. This is during the fight with Giancarlo Esposito. And also, he gets stabbed before that in the fight with whatever that other guy was in the fight in the first scene. But like, he's just fine. He doesn't even flinch when he gets stabbed. And we see a big wound later that's like patched up, but like something happened there. And he starts bleeding when he gets stabbed. Later, Sidewinder will say like, you had like a, Kevlar weave in that shirt or something. And I'm like, I know that's what you say, but like, it still definitely went into his body enough to get some blood out. Like, seems like the kind of thing that a non-super soldier would give a shit about. Seems like the kind of thing that a super soldier would give a shit about. But this is my thing. And this is, there's that one episode of The Office where Michael explains Die Hard to everybody. It feels like this movie gave him lots of gadgets, which I think are fine. Having gadgets, I have no problem with, especially if you have to fight like the Hulk. But also took away a lot of the everyman stuff from Captain America to the point where, like, I understand that he can survive a fight with the Red Hulk by being crafty and using the shield and his vibranium wings to his advantage. But at the end of the fight, when he explodes one of the wings that's on his body enough to throw the Red Hulk into like a car very far away, you figure that would do some sort of damage to him, the human man, but he's like an invincible Superman now. So take the serum or it doesn't matter. Like, the movie thinks you took it, so you might as well have taken it. That is maybe my biggest problem with the movie, only because like he has this very sterile like office with a big humongous ceiling and a big Captain America symbol in the window, and I'm like, what is this? Because General Ross calls and is like, I want to restart the Avengers. I want you, Captain America, to be an official military position. Then what is he, a contractor? Do you call him? Does he have a little falcon symbol in the sky? Like, and I only care about that because the last thing he was in did a lot of work to establish what it was, and now it's different for some reason. Okay, let's move past that. General Ross is insane in this movie. I like the idea that he is like not a bad guy, but like he makes bad choices, and he always has, right? It's funny, especially in our current day and age, the idea that he would be president because he sucks at this. He's been bad at everything he's ever done. And in the comics, that's always his deal, right? He hates Bruce Banner and hates the Hulk, but even before he knows they're the same guy, I think. I can't remember exactly how that went. But like Bruce Banner was dating Betty and he wanted her to be with the other guy, Talbot, I think, because he was a military man and Bruce was a nerd and you respect power and stuff. And on the other side, Hulk is a menace. He's destroying everything. He feels like somewhat responsible for the Hulk creation. All that stuff made him hate the Hulk as well. But the Hulk's a good guy, at least like the main character of the story. So Ross would fail and fail and fail and fail and fail. He only got the Red Hulk powers in the comics because a bunch of the bad guys were like, you keep failing. So like, would you want to be maybe a Hulk? Is that something we could do to help? Also, like your daughter like is dead. We could bring her back from the dead or something. Are you interested in this? And this was like a group of villains like MODOK and the leader were involved with this. But like General Ross just cannot stop taking L's. He loses constantly. Then in these movies, what this character has done, Incredible Hulk, that went very poorly, and it was largely his fault. Civil War split up the Avengers. That was also a big disaster, especially bad considering Infinity War. He also tried to arrest Captain America, which like, come on, dude. Also, he spends a lot of his energy trying to arrest Black Widow in the Black Widow movie. And then he comes back up here and he's the president. Now, I'm not saying that he could not be elected president, but I guess I'm saying like, this character has failed up so spectacularly. I don't think the movie positions him that way. I think the movie sets him up as like, I want to be the president for all Americans, and me and you may have our differences, but we're gonna work them out. And in reality, this guy is just like the Mr. Magoo of villains. Like that is how people should be treating him. But they are not. And pretty quickly, he's getting absolutely destroyed. So maybe for like a week, everybody's like, oh man, President Ross, awesome. And then like he screws up the first time and everybody's like, oh, right. This is what his whole deal is. Speaking of screwing up, the Sabra thing. I fully don't understand anything about this character, including at a meta level, why she exists at all in this movie. She's not the obvious play here, right? Because Sabra, like I said, Hulk character, Israeli super soldier, not like super soldier, but like superhero representative of the state of Israel, a quite unpopular state considering their conflict with Gaza at this very moment. And not the whole thing where like you can't have an Israeli person in a movie, but like maybe don't put their Captain America in the movie unless you're putting like all the other Captain Americas from other countries in this movie. Like Captain Britain's in here, then like sure, yeah, throw Sabra in. But the idea that it's just like we gotta put Sabra in feels like a stretch. Not a character that has a particularly interesting relationship with General Ross, as far as I know, or Captain America, Sam Wilson, the Falcon, none of them. So I have no idea why she's here. At the same time, her place in this movie, she is General Ross's head of security for the White House. And it seems like openly a Black Widow, like a former Red Room spy. So the idea that she is, she doesn't have superpowers, besides the fact that she can do backflips and stuff like all the Black Widows can. In the comics, sometimes Black Widow has like the super soldier serum or some version of that, but in this, she doesn't. And like none of them do. And she's an Israeli citizen. This is not like in Iron Man 2, where Natasha was posing as Natalie Rushman to get closer to Iron Man. When I heard about how this story was going to set up, I was like, oh, she's going to be something else. And at a certain point, you're going to like rip a wig off her. And it's like, you're a different person than we thought. And then it's like, oh, a Black Widow and, you know, from a different country. Oh my God, we've been infiltrated. Instead, it seems like General Ross has hired her to be his head of security. He is immediately shot and like shot at, but whatever. And he's still like, I trust her so much. She's the best person ever. It's like, A, why? We've never heard of her before. Why does she get this level of like respect? And then B, why did you guys put her in the movie? Like, I don't know, man. And the only reason it really bothers me is that there's another character in this movie that is a Secret Service guard that is like things about Sabra we know. Savvy, you know, hand-to-hand combatant, close to the president, close to security, on a different side of this than Sam. All of this can be true of Lila Taylor, played by Zosha Rockmore. Like, there's nothing stopping her from just doing all the stuff that Ruth does. And then she gets to be in the movie more, and then we just have her. Because the other thing about Ruth, and I don't know too much about the actor, but not good. It's not a good performance. It's in fact, I would say, on the maybe worse end of these for Marvel usually. This character just does not have much charisma. There's like a little bit where she like makes a little joke, and I'm like, that's not too bad. But like for the most part, she's just kind of there, saying stuff and scowling at people and going, I don't trust him. But I don't know, man. It just doesn't work. The other thing that kills me about it is this story is kind of based on one of the more recent Captain America arcs, especially because, and this I will not abide by, one of the characters that's kind of in this movie is a character that I think is named Dunphy. He is like a guy with a beard who is in the army, who's Cap's main point of contact here. That is, I would imagine, supposed to be D-Man, the character that is a sort of hero who, you know, is kind of a screw-up, who becomes a member of Captain America's team, you know, famously gets a spare Daredevil and Wolverine outfit and puts them together and he's like, I'm D-Man. And he's cool and beloved. And he was a member of this team too in the comics. So there was a team in the comics for a while that was Sam, Joaquin Torres, D-Man, and a woman. And she was a woman who did all the stuff that Black Widow pretty much can do. But she was a character that we already knew. And this character is a character that General Ross would implicitly trust. Or at least you could see why he would go like, I need to run my security through her. She's popular. She's like capable and smart. And like, she's kind of like a, you know, loose cannon a little bit. And I like that. Maybe Ross like respects that. The character's Misty Knight. She is like the fourth member of this team. And like, just put her in here. Why are we bothering when they need this Sabra stuff? Especially because like Misty Knight doesn't need to know Captain America. She can just be the head of security for General Ross, and then she could just, you know, be on the other side of this and like, I don't want to arrest you, Captain America, but I just might have to. And then, you know, they become friends, whatever. I don't know. That the Sabra thing stinks, and every aspect of it stinks. The fact that people will boycott this movie for it, you know, stick to your principles. That's totally fine. But like looking at the actual movie, it is such a small part of the movie that it's like, forget about any of the difficulty when it comes to the boycott. Just don't put this character in here because they have no business being in this movie. Okay, the Red Hulk fight. So there's one part of this movie that looks genuinely bad, and it's a shame because I do think most of the action sequences in it are good. But at the end of the Red Hulk fight, it is very clear that some sort of reshoot. One of the like notes was, we have to make it so that Sam doesn't just beat Red Hulk. He like weakens him and then talks him down. And I think as a script note, great. Yes, that is how you do that, especially with a character like Sam, who gives these impassioned speeches and was a counselor. So having him talk down Red Hulk is great. It just doesn't look good in the movie. And I have to imagine the last thing they shot, besides maybe some of the Sidewinder stuff that they just shot in like a little area. It's a shame because it's so late in the movie that it's hard to forget, but it looks rough. And just that one shot. But yeah, not good. Speaking of Sidewinder, I'm going to just assume Kevin Feige had a bully at some point in his life that was a big Serpent Society fan. And Kevin, at one point after getting sand kicked in his face at the beach, was like, I swear to God, if I'm ever in charge of Marvel, I will make it so that the Serpent Society is never in this. And I'll do a thing where we announce the Serpent Society movie and then, they're not in it. And then we'll put them in the McDonald's toys and we'll leak pictures and it's like, oh my God, it's Cobra and it's Diamondback. And they're not in the movie either because the Serpent Society just cannot catch a break. And like, I don't have any strong feelings about Cobra, but Diamondback is another character that plays in this Captain America story that I was talking about, the one that Misty Knight is in. And I think is a very traditional Captain America friend. She's one of those enemies turned friends that I think those characters are great. You could have just had her totally be the Sabra character also. Could have just been Rose Salazar. And you're like, who is she? Oh, she's got a past. And then maybe we find out eventually she's part of the Serpent Society, but she's actually a good person. I don't know. That complicates it a little bit. But like, just have Diamondback be your own thing. Don't bother with the Serpent Society and Serpent and whatever. I feel like we totally wasted Giancarlo Esposito here. We only get one Giancarlo Esposito in the MCU. At least that used to be how it worked. But now people just come back and it's like, I'm a different guy. So he could still be Professor X if he wanted to. I'm sure Giancarlo Esposito was having fun. I remember the day where people were like, who is he playing? He's in the movie. And someone leaked a picture. And it wasn't a picture because it was just a drawing of like a guy with a trench coat with like an axe and a sword and guns and stuff. We went, well, that can't be what they got Giancarlo Esposito to play in this movie. Some fucking guy with guns and a sword and axe and whatever. And that's what we got. Instead of cool guys who were snake guys. Like, I don't know, man. I get that they wanted to make this a more grounded political thriller a la The Winter Soldier. But like, you could do both. You know, you can have it be a grounded political thriller and also snake bad guys. You just gotta balance it a little better. And maybe the balance was bad. I don't know. Other characters that apparently were cut, people that didn't seem to make it into this movie. And I don't know if the Hulk and She-Hulk and them ever were, but like they probably should have been. But apparently Amadeus Cho, the, I forget, 7th or 8th smartest person in the Marvel Comics universe, son of Helen Cho from Age of Ultron, was supposed to be in this. I imagine he would have been the guy that D-Man called to get information about the pills. And that guy would have been like, there's gamma, look at all this gamma. And then you figure he would have had a sample that he could, I don't know, accidentally eat that would turn him into totally awesome Hulk, like Amadeus Cho usually does in the comics. And apparently he was going to be played by Podcast from the Ghostbusters movie. And like, you know, good. Probably wouldn't have worked. I'm glad they didn't do that in this. I really didn't like the end, at the very end in the jail, where Sam's like, you surrendered because you're a good man, General Ross. And it's like, okay, you surrendered at the end of your Hulk spree and stuff. But let's take a step back and look at what Ross did. Ross lied to everyone about working with a supervillain who was secretly turning him into the Red Hulk. But if you forget about all the Red Hulk stuff, they almost started a war with Japan. And let's forget about the leader. Let's say the leader is not going to use flashing lights to make the pilots do what he wants to actually start the war. But the war escalates because General Ross just cannot say to people, like, I'm working with Samuel Stearns. He's probably doing all of this. Because he knows he was compromised. He knows that the site that this was in is compromised. And he can probably put together in his stupid little head what happened with Isaiah Bradley. Oh, he was probably mind controlled. Maybe that is something that this guy can do. Hey, I have a video of him making a guy shoot himself. So like, that probably means he can do mind control stuff. The fact that Ross gets off the hook in this movie, considering he let all of that happen and didn't even go, hey, listen, Prime Minister of Japan, I can't tell people this right now because it's a big deal and it's superhero stuff. I'm sure you can tell it's dumb. I don't know who you guys got going, Hitmonkey, Silver Samurai. It's like that. But I promise you, we did not send that guy to steal the thing. There's a supervillain who's doing it. I can't tell you about it because of confidential stuff. Are they not able to do that? And the Japanese Prime Minister is just like, you lying jerk. I knew it. You lied and then I get caught and then you're lying again. And it's just like General Ross just could go on TV and be like, okay, here's what's happening. This is why it's all a problem. But he's fully compromised and blackmailed the whole time and didn't do anything about it. It's like, forget about the Hulk stuff. You shouldn't have to go to jail for being a Hulk. Like, all the people that get killed in this movie are his fault, 100%. And I think they're going to do that thing where, like, by the next time we see him, he'll be a cool guy we all like. And it feels like that's bullshit. What else? A lot of technology. Some was cool. Some was kind of like, that's a lot of technology. Like, Red Wing can pick up the shield and be like a extra barrier, like, so he can fly and the shield will intercept all the bullets. That's handy, you know, that's pretty cool. There's 2 Red Wings, there's one with lasers and one's with bullets or whatever. I don't know. I guess I don't care. It just, we've given him a lot of gadgets, but it's not like they don't do a lot of flying stuff. He also just has a lot of Wakanda shit going on too, which is fine because it's from Wakanda, I guess. But I guess there was a part of me when we found out that Sam was going to be fighting the Red Hulk. I was like, ooh, this is going to be tough for him because he's not a super soldier. And he's got a fancy little thing. He can fly around and he has the shield. The shield's handy, but like you can't, I don't know, take a punch from the Hulk. But instead, we get this new version of Sam who's got all kinds of magical gear that lets him take a bunch of punches from the Hulk. And that makes it less fun. Other stuff, I don't know why Sabra got her little Power Ranger outfit on under her jacket only for the scene in the battleship. She didn't have it for the scene where she actually did like martial arts and stuff. She just had that on to be like, I'm special, I'm a guy. This can be in my McDonald's toy that people will get and go, who's Ruth? I don't know. I just really, that character stinks. Should have been Misty Knight, you know? I'm not gonna want to small change it because it needs, you know, you would need to change what the leader's whole deal is, I think, to make this movie more of a thing. Honestly, you don't need the leader, you need the Serpent Society. You need to figure out what the hell the Serpent Society is and just do that. Because the Serpent Society would be cool. There's so many different versions of the Serpent Society. Like, there is the Serpent Society, snake-themed supervillains. There is the Sons of the Serpent, which are a militia of guys who follow the Serpent Society and are kind of like racists and stuff, and they're also a big player in this more recent Captain America comic. And then you have Serpent Inc., which is a company run by the Serpent Society, where they just do bad guy stuff, but they're like, we could do it as a company and it's totally cool. All those are options. But instead they just did, it's one guy with a bunch of guns. Yeah, that part was dumb. Post-credit scene also very bad. This also felt like something that was shot yesterday. I don't remember what it is, but Sam says something to Stearns. It's like, what do you know, Stearns? And Stearns is like, you think you're the only heroes and you think you're the only world, but I've done the probabilities and we got lots of worlds and they're all gonna hit and do secret wars. And I don't care. I care about that. I think that will be a fun movie, but like, I don't need him to tell me that. Everybody's been telling everybody that the whole time. This has been all of Loki, Deadpool and Wolverine. It seems like originally this was going to be a pitch towards like a World War Hulk thing, where it was like, oh, I've put some things in motion you won't even understand, and I gave the little podcast boy, I gave him Hulk powers too, and now there's maybe a red She-Hulk running around, maybe, who knows. And I guess that would have been cool. I guess I did not need another character to talk about multiverse stuff. Not that I'm against it, but it just did not feel like the direction this movie was going in. I guess I feel like if he had been more specific, it would have been kind of cool. If he had said, like, you're gonna be facing something, you're doomed, Sam Wilson, you're doomed, I would have been like, ooh, okay. Someone said doomed. That's cool. Also, he's in the raft. Ross is in the raft. Are they both in the... It doesn't seem like they're... How many rooms are in the raft? Because that'd be kind of cool if they're like next to each other. They just yell at each other all day. Like that airplane, I think you should leave sketch. Just like all this guy wants to do is ruin General Ross's life, and now they're basically bunkmates. Yeah, I don't know. The movie's okay. It's fine. It's like a fine action movie. It's all the trailers stitched together with scenes where people go, why is this happening? And the answer is the leader wanted it to happen, and it's fine. Like, I don't think this will turn anybody off of Marvel, and I don't think this will win anybody over to Marvel. I don't think this is any one actor's fault or anything like that. It seems like this just like has been a mess. And, you know, it's one of those things where I think fans sometimes have the right instincts, right? Not always, definitely not always, but like you could see a Sonic design and go, that is not going to work. You could see a Dark Phoenix movie and go, it's too early. That's not how the story should play out. And we're right about that, right? I think we saw all these Hulk villains start to show up in this Captain America thing and went, that's weird. And I think the confrontation between Cap and President Hulk, really interesting. Good. Especially Sam Wilson. Also, why did they cut that line?
You're not Steve Rogers. You're right. I'm not.
Cool line, not in the movie. The you're right, I'm not part. But all the other Hulk stuff was super unnecessary. And it also felt like felt like Sam was tagging along in somebody else's movie. Like, he doesn't have a villain that's his yet. And he should by now. That should have been the Serpent Society. I guess you could maybe say it's Sidewinder. But like, I don't know, man. Who cares? Sidewinder can't even beat Captain America in a fight where he takes him completely by surprise. So what else is, not going to get a better shot than that. But there was some good stuff, like the Red Hulk was cool. Speaking of things that are cool, I want to talk about this video sponsor, Nebula. If you've never heard of it before, Nebula is a subscription streaming service that me and a bunch of other YouTubers, a lot of people you're probably already watching, created because we wanted to have more control over our videos. We didn't want to have to cater to the algorithm, and we wanted to offer a better experience to you guys so you can watch all of my videos. They're all early. Some of them are like a full month early. Some of them are like a day early, but every video goes up first on Nebula, and that is Nando V Movies, and that is the Nando Cut, both of my channels, and they're completely ad-free. So there's no ads in the middle, and there's no sponsor read at the end. And in 2025, we have so much cool stuff that we are working on. One thing that I am very excited about is a show called Abolish Everything. This is a live show that happens in the city where people come in and bring something that they hate, and they give a short presentation on why it should be abolished. Then a panel of experts goes in and questions them. And I'm excited for Abolish Everything because, like Nebula, we have a reputation for being very smart. We have a lot of very, very educated people who do research and make documentaries, but we also have a lot of really funny people, and I am excited to see that side of Nebula growing. And I always say, a year of Nebula is a steal at $5 a month or $60 a year. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, you can get a year of Nebula for $3 a month. It is an incredible deal. Go check it out. You're going to love it. All right, that's all I got. Stay safe. I'll see you guys next time.